Funny how people unsubscribe from your life without notice. One day they swear forever, the next they're gone. But hey, if you're here, hit subscribe. It's free, unlike loyalty. My parents refused to pay for my college, but when my aunt and uncle helped me graduate, they bragged, and then sent insulting emails to them. Hello Reddit. I, 20F, am about to graduate from a relatively well-known school in my state in just 2 weeks. Each student is only permitted 4 tickets to the ceremony, not out of stinginess, but because the university's main auditorium simply cannot accommodate the massive graduating class. I purchased 3 tickets and invited the people who truly supported me: my Aunt Donna, Uncle Kevin, and Cousin Jeremy. I did not invite my parents, Esther and Frank. And that, it seems, is where the problem lies. It all started back in high school during my junior year. My parents called me into the living room for a family meeting. At first, I was relieved. This wasn't about me doing something wrong. But that relief quickly turned into dread. My father, Frank, cleared his throat and launched into a rehearsed speech. They were getting older, he said. They needed to focus on their retirement. They had their own lives to live and futures to plan. Ones that, apparently, did not include financing my education. My mother, Esther, nodded and added that I was almost 18, practically an adult. It was time I learned to stand on my own 2 feet. I sat there absorbing it all. I wasn't surprised. Deep down, I think I'd always known this was coming. My parents had always been frugal, not because they were struggling, but because they simply didn't want to spend money on me. Every request, even for necessities, felt like a negotiation. Clothes? Only if I had completely outgrown the old ones. A school trip? I had to beg. Not because they couldn't afford it, they just didn't want to. So, their decision not to fund my college education? It wasn't a shock, just confirmation. Fortunately, I had a backup plan. Months before, I had spoken with my Uncle Kevin, my father's older brother. I had always felt closer to him and his family than my own parents. When I was younger, my parents' social lives took precedence over raising me. They would drop me off at Uncle Kevin and Aunt Donna's house for entire weekends at a time. But I was never treated as a burden. Aunt Donna and Uncle Kevin welcomed me like their own daughter. My cousin Jeremy, 4 years older than me, became the big brother I never had. So when I approached Uncle Kevin, I wasn't expecting a handout. I was simply going to ask if he would co-sign a student loan. But before I could even get the words out, he stopped me. "Don't worry about college," he said. "Donna and I will take care of it. Just focus on studying." Aunt Donna immediately agreed. "Your family. We're happy to help." I insisted, repeatedly, that I would pay them back after graduation. But they refused. Both of them are doctors. Uncle Kevin is a surgeon, Aunt Donna a pediatrician. They were financially secure and saw it as an investment in me. So, I worked hard, I studied, and now, I'm finally graduating. I sent my aunt and uncle their tickets and moved on. My parents never even crossed my mind. Why would they care? We had barely spoken in years. Since I started college, our relationship had become even more distant. I would visit for Thanksgiving and Christmas, but they were always too busy, throwing parties, going out with friends. I usually ended up driving to my uncle's house an hour away instead. That was where I felt like I actually belonged. Then last week the phone rang. My mother, making small talk. "How are classes? Are you excited for graduation?" But it felt forced. Then my father's voice, clearing his throat, just like he had years ago in the living room. "So, have you decided who you're inviting to the graduation ceremony?" A knot formed in my stomach. I hesitated for just a second before answering. "I already invited Uncle Kevin, Aunt Donna, and Jeremy." Silence. Then my mother's voice, shrill, incredulous. "You didn't invite your own parents?" I tried to explain. "The ticket limit. The small venue." But my father cut me off. His voice grew louder with each word. "I've been telling everyone about your graduation. Bragging to my friends. Saying how proud I am. Do you know how humiliating this is? We'll look like fools if we're not even there." And that was when I snapped. Years of being treated like an afterthought, like an obligation, a burden, a lesser priority than their social standing, came rushing to the surface. "You haven't even asked me about college in 4 years. I screamed. "You were too busy spending money on fancy dinners and vacations. You told me I was on my own, so why does it matter now?" My mother started yelling back. "We raised you. We put a roof over your head. We clothed you. We invested time and money in you." "Invested?" I spat. "You did the bare minimum. And you made it very clear that I was on my own. Uncle Kevin and Aunt Donna were the ones who were there for me. They are my real family." I hung up. My hands were shaking. Without hesitation, I blocked their numbers. Then I called Uncle Kevin. I spilled everything. He listened, patient as always. When I finished, he said calmly, "You did what you had to do. Don't doubt yourself for a second. You're part of our family and we're proud of you." 2 days later, I received an email from my father. It was long, full of excuses, backhanded apologies. They hadn't spent money on me growing up because they wanted me to be humble and grateful. They always thought we had a close, loving relationship. They were so hurt that I had misunderstood them. But then the real reason. Please unblock us. Please send us tickets. We won't post anything on social media. We just want to be there. They wanted to save face. I reread the email over and over, looking for a real apology. There wasn't one. So I made my decision. I wasn't responding. I wasn't unblocking them. And I definitely wasn't giving them tickets. Then something unexpected happened. Aunt Donna and Uncle Kevin were supposed to arrive on the day of the graduation ceremony. But they called me yesterday with a change of plans. "We're coming early. 2 days early." "Why?" I asked, surprised. "Because we want to spend some time with you before everything gets crazy," Aunt Donna said. I nearly cried. They flew in that night. Took me out to dinner. We laughed. Talked about everything, even my parents. "And Uncle Kevin?" He just sighed. "That sounds exactly like your father," he said. "He's always been like this." And then he told me stories. Stories about my father's obsession with status. His desperate need to impress. How he had always chased the wealthiest, most popular people even in high school. It all started to make sense. And for the first time in years, maybe ever, I finally saw the truth. My uncle informed me that many of my father's current friends, the folks he is so eager to impress, are not exactly role models. He claimed to have heard reports about extramarital affairs, unethical business methods and other such things. But they all kept the appearance of respectability, of being wonderful, happy families. He felt it was ridiculous that my father, at his age, cared so much about what these people thought, especially when it meant compromising his connection with his own daughter. Hearing all of this from my uncle, someone I totally trust, was quite reassuring. It confirmed what I had long suspected. My parents' priorities were completely distorted. They prioritized appearances over actual relationships. Any remaining shame I felt had vanished. Graduation is in 3 days. I'm trying not to worry about what my folks might do. I'm hoping they'll stay away and know they've lost. But a part of me is prepared for some sort of public spectacle. Some attempt to shame me or manipulate the situation. Update 2, Graduation Day. It has finally arrived. The ceremony itself was beautiful, everything I had hoped for. I walked across the stage, shook the dean's hand, accepted my diploma, and felt an incredible sense of success. Aunt Donna, Uncle Kevin, and Jeremy, who arrived just in time after working all night to finish a project, were the loudest cheers in the audience. Seeing them gleaming with pride meant everything to me. Following the ceremony, we took the required photos. I wore my cap and gown with my aunt, Uncle Jeremy, and some of my classmates. We were all laughing, relieved, and excited. Then, as we exited the auditorium, it happened. My phone started buzzing like crazy. Notifications from Facebook, Instagram, and even text messages from relatives I hadn't spoken with in years. My Uncle Kevin's phone also started vibrating. Then Aunt Donna's. Then Jeremy's. My parents had gone social media crazy. They had posted long, rambling, hateful diatribes across multiple platforms, accusing me of being a selfish, ungrateful child. They also accused my aunt and uncle of brainwashing me and stealing me away from them. I couldn't see the posts since I had blocked them, but my relatives began emailing us screenshots. It was awful. They claimed that I had demanded they pay for my college tuition out of jealousy because Aunt Donna and Uncle Kevin had paid for Jeremy's schooling. That they had only ever wanted to raise me to be humble and self-sufficient. That I had run crying to my uncle, who then used the incident to poison me against my parents. But the worst thing? They weaponized Aunt Donna and Uncle Kevin's miscarriage. They claimed that my aunt and uncle were resentful and jealous since they had lost a child a few years before Jeremy was born. That they were projecting their pain onto me, treating me like the daughter they never had. And then, the most vile part. They suggested that the miscarriage was divine retribution, that my aunt and uncle were unworthy of having another child. That was a vicious, twisted, repulsive lie. Yes, Aunt Donna miscarried. It happened a few months before I was born. They didn't know the baby's gender, but my aunt always suspected it was a girl. When I was born, they were simply happy. They've always been kind, caring, and supportive. And now, my parents were twisting that tragedy into a weapon against them? I stood on the pavement outside the restaurant, shaking with rage. I wanted to unblock my parents and expose them for the disgusting monsters they were. But Uncle Kevin stopped me. He placed a firm hand on my arm. "Don't," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Don't give them the satisfaction. They want a reaction. They want to drag you into the mud with them. Don't let them." He told me he would handle it. He'd call his lawyer and look into legal options. He also reassured me that everyone in the family knew what my father was like. No one took the post seriously. Relatives had sent us screenshots not because they believed it but because they were in shock. So we headed into the restaurant. I tried to forget about it and focus on celebrating my achievement. It was difficult, but my aunt, uncle, and Jeremy tried their best to distract me. They told funny stories. They made toast. They kept the conversation lighthearted and uplifting. And in their own quiet ways they reassured me. I was loved. I was supported. I was part of their family. I have no idea if my parents ever took those posts down. I don't care. I haven't checked. And I won't. Update 3, 2 weeks later. It's been a little more than 2 weeks since graduation and the social media frenzy. Life has calmed down somewhat. I've been entirely focused on my job search, sending out resumes, writing cover letters, and attending interviews. It's been tough, but it's a welcome distraction from the family drama. I'm still staying at Uncle Kevin's house. Returning to my parents' home? Not an option. Staying with my aunt and uncle has been a lifeline. We eat dinner together most nights and watch movies on weekends. Feels like how a real family should be. Then I found out something interesting. Through a chat between Aunt Donna and one of my cousins, I learned that Uncle Kevin followed through on his promise. He called my father, through a lawyer. Uncle Kevin knows a defamation lawyer. He had a formal letter written, threatening legal action if my father didn't. Remove every single post immediately. Issue a public apology. At first, my father tried to argue and bluster. But when he realized Uncle Kevin was serious, he backed down. The posts disappeared. Of course, there was no apology. But I never expected one. You'd think that was the end of it, right? That my parents would finally realize they'd gone too far, that they had destroyed our relationship beyond repair? Wrong. A few days ago, I got another email. The subject line: "We need to talk, Mom and Dad." At first, I wanted to delete it on sight. But curiosity got the best of me. I opened it. It was shorter than previous messages but just as manipulative. They accused me of disrespect, of being ungrateful. Then they changed tactics. They claimed they had been speaking to a family counselor, which I highly doubt, and that the counselor suggested they offer me an olive branch. They would forgive me if I agreed to meet with them in person. I didn't respond. Then 2 days later, another email arrived. The subject line: "Disappointed in you, Mom and Dad." I almost ignored it. But again, curiosity won. I wish it hadn't. This email was worse. They claimed Uncle Kevin's legal action was proof that he was hiding something. Then they repeated the horrifying lie about Aunt Donna's miscarriage. God made your aunt have that miscarriage because he knew they weren't fit to be parents. They told me to come home before it was too late. I blocked the email immediately. Then for the first time in weeks, I broke down crying. I haven't told Aunt Donna or Uncle Kevin. I can't. They've been so good to me. I don't want them to know how far my parents have sunk. But it's eating away at me. And I don't know what to do. Final update: moving forward. I've even considered changing my phone number just to be safe. Through the family grapevine, mostly my cousin Jeremy, despite my aunt's dismay, I've heard that my parents are continuing to live their lives as if nothing happened. They still attend their fancy dinner parties, post carefully curated photos on Instagram, and pretend to be the ideal happy family. I suppose some things never change. But I have. At Uncle Kevin's suggestion, I started seeing a therapist. He noticed that, despite getting a job and moving out, I was still struggling. He gently encouraged me to talk to someone who could help me process everything. I was hesitant at first. I've always been a private person, someone who doesn't easily express emotions. But I trusted my uncle and I knew he was right. Therapy has been difficult, but eye-opening. I'm slowly working through the pain, the betrayal, and the deep-seated need for validation from people who were never going to give it to me. I am letting go. I am creating my own life. I am focusing on my career. And most importantly, I am choosing my own family. Aunt Donna, Uncle Kevin, and Jeremy have been my real family all along. They've supported me, believed in me, and never once made their love conditional. And, of course, I have my furry little companion, my cat. Reddit, I appreciate everything you've done for me. For those of you who have struggled with toxic families, who have been made to feel like you were never good enough, who have had to fight for your own happiness, you are not alone. If this story resonates with you, tell us. And here's the lesson I want to leave you with. Your worth is not determined by people who refuse to see it. You are allowed to walk away from toxic family members. You deserve to be loved for who you are, not who someone wants you to be. If this story spoke to you, please like, share, and subscribe. Let's create a community where people can share their stories and support each other. Thank you for listening.